it's the crew.
Yo, what's poppin', Crew Nation? You already know who it is, what it is, and what we do, baby. It is your boy Jay, and today we're talking about Swoope. Now, Swoope is one of the most prominent producers and artists within the Christian hip-hop space. And not only is he that, but he has given us multiple classics, classic albums, classic singles. And when you are a producer of this man's stature, you, in fact, take your production very seriously. See, when you are a producer, you build things from the ground up, and so you are very meticulous in what you do, and you tend to pay attention a bit more than the average listener. A lot more than the average listener, a little bit more than the average rapper. So what are we talking about? What are we here to talk about? We're here to talk about Swoope being unfairly, unjustly stolen from. At least this is according to him. Here within the past couple of little bits, there has been a viral song going around. It features one of Christian hip-hop's darlings in Hovey and has become the #3 trending song. That song is called No Longer Bound by Forrest Frank featuring Hovey, the golden child of Reach Records. This song has over 1 million plays, and anytime a song gets over 1 million streams, that record tends to find its way to places that people wouldn't necessarily hear it at if it wasn't as big as what it is. And I think that that's dope. You got a viral song, that is fire. But on the first day of 2023's Black Legacy Month, we find that someone who isn't particularly a part of that Black legacy has a song that sounds very similar to that who is enriched with the Black legacy. As this record made its rounds, it made its rounds to Swoope, who had something to say about it. Swoope says the keys, the chord, the structure, the drums, the church claps, the cadence, the color, the bounce, the crowd effects, the feels, almost the same key. Somebody got some explaining to do.
He copied my whole fucking flow, word for word, bar for bar.
Now, obviously, this tends to happen a lot, and a lot of times when people bring these things up, they really don't have a leg to stand on. But as he played this and previewed this to the fans, it seemed as if there was more than a coincidence between these two records. Look, the intros sound very alike. May have pitched it up a couple octaves, but it sounds very close. I'm not going to get into trying to break this down and try to show you all how close it really is. Y'all can go to B+'s YouTube channel. He does an excellent job at breaking these things down. If you want a more in-depth of that, go to his YouTube channel. The link is in the description below. But Swoope put out this concern, and he's like, yo, hey, look, guys, hey, I don't like the way that this is sounding. My record, I dropped in 2018, and here we are in the year of our Lord 2023 and Black Legacy Month, Black Future Month, and I have had my song or the style of my song copied. I don't like this. And in the comment section, you had several different people saying different things. You had certain fans saying, hey, yes, pay the man. It sounds exactly like that. I can't believe this. And then you had the other half like, yo, I doubt this man even knows about Christian hip hop. And if he does, I doubt he knows that much about you, sir. A lot of the people that were saying those things were fans who already knew Mr. Frank from a group. I believe he was part of Surfaces. I don't know that much and really don't care. We're here to talk about this. So apparently he was a part of a group, and so they're saying, hey, look, he probably doesn't even know about CHH, and if he does, he really doesn't know about you, right? To where this thing got so big, it swelled up enough to where Mr. Frank decided to come on and comment, and he says, yo, all love, my man, but I've never heard of you or this song before. I Be Snapping said, not trying to sound mean, but that's crazy. Never? And he says, never. Now, generally when these situations happen, if you're being accused of something like this, especially talking about taking someone's music, you would typically go in and be like, hey, my bad. Yo, I didn't know anything about this. Let me get on the phone with some people and kind of see what's going on. My bad. Let me look into this. Even if they didn't do anything wrong, just to kind of save face. But Mr. Forrest, nah. He was like, yo, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know who you are or your song. This is my song. This is my moment. Okay. So as this started to go along, people started to continue to give their opinion. We have dope opinions from Cardiac Drums, who's another prominent producer within the space. And he was like, yo, this is deeper than the music. These things happen all the time, especially from, white people taken from black and brown people. Like, this just happens. And then you had other people like a Ruslan saying, yo, I've seen Swoope make a lot of music on Splice and making samples and different things like that. That being said, it's not that hard to go and kind of tappity tap on the keyboard and figure this thing out. A lot of people were saying that, not just Ruslan. And I'm actually paraphrasing Ruslan's point. But a lot of people were saying that, like, yo, it's a simple gospel progression. Like, it's easy. So Swoope decided, yo, look, I'm going to just hop on the phone. Or maybe Mr. Forrest decided to contact Swoope, whatever the case is. So they got on the phone. Shouts out to them, because we see a lot of these things happen a lot of times and nobody actually gets on the phone. They just go back and forth on social media and that's the end of it. But Swoope says that they had a conversation. And he's like, yo, it didn't really go the way that I thought it was going to go. I believe there's some arrogance in there, but I'm trying to live this thing out the way that Christ would have me live it out. So I went out to seek understanding. Again, paraphrasing, but I want to do this the right way. And he says, a lot of people think it's just about the bag, but it's not about the bag. It's deeper than that. The fact of the matter is that these things have been happening to black artists for some time. And, one of the things that I can point to and that everybody kind of points to a lot of times is you think about Elvis being hailed as the king of rock and roll, but he stole his whole style from that of Chuck Berry. And I know a lot of you, who Chuck Berry? Yeah, go and look that up. By the way, the Elvis Presley movie is really, really dope. But anywho, this sucks. Because from my personal opinion, I don't care what y'all say. Y'all can try to throw us off the scent all you want to. This song sounds very similar to that of Swoope's. Now, I will say it is only the intro. When you get to the middle and everything like that, it doesn't. It's a totally different. The songs take off in two different places. I kind of like Mr. Forrest's a little bit better just because it's a bit more of a bounce. I can get my gospel riffs off in that record as well. That's what happens when you're doing worship music, right? It's kind of hard to do that when we're talking about rap music. But in any case, the records do in fact sound extremely alike. Swoope is very, very close to Reach Records, or he was at one point. And we all know that the featured artist on this record is Reach Records' Golden Child in Hovey. The second that I heard the progression in the record, I immediately was like, yo, I've heard this song before. But you know what I thought? To keep it a beat, I'm like, yo, well, maybe I've heard Forrest's song before. I just didn't know. I don't pay attention to this guy. But maybe I heard it somewhere, and that's the reason why it sounds so familiar. Turns out it sounds so familiar because it Swoope's. And everybody who's been around CHH since about 2017 would know, and actually the record came out in 2018 from Swoope, but if you've been around Christian hip hop since 2017, you know that that record sounded very familiar, and if you did a deep dive, you would know that it is in fact Swoope's record. So I go to Hovey and I'm like, yo, you didn't think to be like, hey, this sounds like a song that I've heard before. But then I'm like, okay, Hovey came into Christian hip hop around 2019, so it's not his fault. Music really doesn't have a long stay power unless you are a ginormous artist or you really, really give us a classic in that moment. And so it's very possible that Hovey didn't hear it. But then I'm like, yo, Reach, I know y'all heard it. Nobody thought to say anything. Nobody thought to tap on the shoulder. But hey, it's not their point to do that. And we're also talking about something that happened 5 years ago, right? So again, I say that if music already doesn't have that much stay power in today's time, but especially Christian hip hop music, because our space is so small, because our space is so small, the amount of people it seems like are releasing music is that much more great, especially if you're in the media. So we have that, right? So it's a very good possibility that didn't nobody know. And, people are saying, no way you didn't hear Swoope. Well, look, man, I'm going to be honest. It's a very good possibility. Unless you're as big as a Cray or you're going off on TikTok like a TZ Gordon or a Wande, yeah, they probably don't know you like that unless you're really invested into the genre. But you kind of go back and you're like, yo, Christian hip hop is a very tight-knit community, especially when we talk about artists. If you are an artist within the space, which Mr. Forrest is not, but if you are an artist within the space, you probably run across each other at certain events. You probably work with the same producers, which kind of leads me to my next point. Mr. Forrest probably didn't know. He could have changed the way he hopped on the post and said what he said, but hey, go off, young man. But he probably didn't know. And it probably didn't ring no bells to Hovey. But let's think about the producer. The producer, which apparently isn't listed, there are no producer credits listed for this record. The producer definitely should have known. I'm not saying everybody should go and run it through the sample tracker to kind of see. But what I am saying is that I'm sure that producer probably knows. And this sucks for Forrest. It also sucks for Swoope because Swoope just wanted what was his. I think that if he would have got some sort of credit on it, it would have been cool because, again, this record is viral. But for Mr. Forrest to come and be like, hey, man, sucks to be you. Look, I want to make this very clear, guys. I know that we value our space a lot. I know that we value what we do a lot. But if we are keeping it a bean, there is an entire side of TikTok that don't even know that Christian hip hop exists. Have they heard of Christian rap? Yes. Do they know a few people that does Christian rap? I mean, they probably still rooting for Toby Mac. I don't know. They, their introduction and their exit to Christian rap was probably Ye's Jesus is King or Donda, right? They don't care to dive in as far as we would. So is it possible that this guy never heard of Swoope? For us to say it's not is a bit arrogant. Because Christian hip hop, no matter what people have done so far, no matter the fact that Scooty was signed to Sony, no matter that KB's been signed to Sony and Cray was signed to Columbia and Social Club was signed to Capitol and NF was signed to Capitol, no matter any of that, no matter the fact that celebrities are shouting out Christian hip hop artists, this space is still super small And this space, a lot of people don't care about, but those who are involved within this space. I hate to say it, but it is what it is, guys. And to Swoope's point and Kardec's point, this is a bigger issue. Unfortunately, they can do this. And they are those, the thems that we speak of. Because if this situation was flipped, as Swoope said, if Swoope would have made the record in 2023, and Mr. Forrest would have came and said, hey, you took my record, maybe this conversation would have been different. There is no maybe to it. I know this conversation would have been different. But I'm not going to sit here and dismiss the fact that Mr. Forrest says that he has no idea of Swoope, and he has no idea of that record. Their record is 5 years old. Swoope isn't as active as one would like him to be, or as active as a Caleb Gordon is, or a Big Breeze, or a Few for that matter. Few, again, has had one of the craziest 12-month spans. So it's not that if we were in mainstream hip hop and it was a single that popped off and was all over, every video countdown and Revolt TV, and people was playing it at every birthday party. Like if this was Watch Me Whip, yeah, we get it. Like that record was being played at bar mitzvahs, kids' birthday parties, youth camp functions, youth Bible church vacation. Like it was being played everywhere. And a lot of y'all need to repent and be baptized. That man chased somebody with a machete. Y'all need to go pray over that record. But it's not like that was the type of record that this was. However, to Swoope's credit, to deny the similarities in this record would be foolish. A lot of y'all niggas is running around here talking about, I don't hear it. You don't want to hear it. It's there. The clear as day. It's there, guys. But if you want to ride on the side of where he probably doesn't know you, and I doubt he did this intentionally, I'm with that. I actually agree with that. It's very simple. Now look, one could say, well, he did go grab Hovey. Well, Hovey's name kind of rings outside of Christian hip hop because Hovey makes worship raps. Same thing with KB. That's what happens. The church loves to play you. Your music sounds safe. So you're going to get these looks. He doesn't have to know about Christian hip hop in order to know about Hovey. He saw this guy that made some music. Yeah, it was similar to the music that he made. It was like, yo, I like you, sir. Hey, buddy, would you like to be on this record? That's the way that played out. But again, I don't believe it was intentional. I think the focus should be on the producer of this record rather than the artists that were a part of this record. I do believe that Forrest should have wanted to seek out a better understanding into why Swoope was so upset rather than kind of brushing it off like, hey, I don't know what to tell you. But it is what it is. Why don't you all let me know what you all think? Hit that like button, hit that red subscribe button, put it in the comments. Whose side are you on? And that's on.